Oh, muse. Good.
Namaste.
Namaste, everyone.
Welcome.
Good to see you all.
Oh, yes. Very good. Very good.
Oh, I see Manisha's name. Hello, Manisha. Here she is. Yay. So good to see you, sweetie.
All right. Namaste.
Okay. Did you want to say something before I start?
No, just, do you know what you got into?
That's from him. That's not from me.
Once every now and then we do this kind of program. So this is the start moment of the creation of the vessel. And we're going to dive deep into the fundamental principles of our own existence, and it will be an interesting time. So welcome. I'm glad you joined me in one of my most favorite programs.
Perfect. We also ask that for those of you who have a blank screen, we ask that you come forward onto the screen to participate. Otherwise, you're just a blank screen for us. And Satri does not see you. So I'm not going to name names, but there's about 2 or 3 of you who need to come forward when you can. Okay. Karen, hello. You figured it out. Yay. Yeah, she's excited. So we have some people on the call today in the program who have been with us for a very long time, but haven't been able to participate for various reasons. So Karen is one that we welcome. We've hung out at Galilee many times, so it's exciting to have you back. All right, so let's get started. What I do at this juncture is we'll go over the schedule and we'll go over the guidelines, and then we turn it over to Shree. Okay, and we have I think a little over 60 people, some either on Zoom or in Crowdcast. So I want to just welcome all of you, and that you, even if you signed up for the last minute, we're happy to have you here. So, okay. The first thing is I am just going to go over the schedule for Pacific Standard Time. Those of you who are on Eastern Time or on Central European, you need to follow along just looking at yours, because I'm not going to read 3 schedules. It gets really confusing. So today is the start point. It's 11 to 1 p.m. for orientation and alignment. So that is what we're going to do this morning into the afternoon. At 4 o'clock to 6, there'll be a silent sitting led by a trainer. I don't know who that is, but everyone is welcome to join that. And at 9 o'clock to 11 p.m., Satri will lead the silent sitting. Tomorrow, Thursday, we start with a 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. silent sitting led by Satri, 11 to 1 p.m. talk. Then we have a 4 to 6 p.m. trainer-led sitting and a 9 to 11 p.m. silent sitting with Satri. And Friday, we start with a 6 to 8 a.m. silent sitting, and then 9 to 10:30 will be small group. So the small group only meets one time during this program. And then from 11 to 1, we'll go back to talk, 4 to 6 p.m. trainer-led sitting, and 9 to 11 p.m. silent sitting. And then Saturday is completion. We started again at 6 to 8 a.m. with our silent sitting, and completion will occur 11 to 1 p.m. And I just want to remind people we generally go over. So it says 11 to 1. We'll go until we finish. So just plan ahead for that. All right. And if you're with Eastern Standard Time or Central European Time, you have a few more variations. So just make sure you're familiar with your schedule. Okay. If you have any questions, you're going to send an email to newdharma.office natalie@gmail.com. That's Natalie in the C. Natalie, are you on? She was on for a moment, and she will answer any questions you have or try to solve whatever issues you have. Okay, next are guidelines to support you creating the most valuable at-home retreat experience. So first we ask you to set up a location in your home where you will be undisturbed for each session. Undisturbed includes your pets and family members, if at all possible. Even though we do love to see your puppies and your kitties, we ask that for this 2-hour time, they find another location to sit in. And we ask you position your computer in such a way that you are not backlit, because if that is the case, we don't see you. We just see this beautiful glow, and we know you're there, but we can't actually see you. Oops. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to shut this off. If a phone is being used, so I don't know if we have anybody on the phone this time. If that is the case, then we ask that it needs to be on a surface that's stabilized. Have the intent during these 4 days to remain inward and outwardly silent as much as possible. I know if you're living in a household with other people, we ask that you at least try to either create the situation, set up the structure with them beforehand, or you're going to be practicing some qualified silence. But we ask for you to remain in silence, at least inwardly, is the most important. Review the retreat schedule. Show up online at least 10 minutes prior to each session. So any problems or questions involving the broadcast need to be sent to newdharma.audiovisual@gmail.com. And they will respond as soon as they're able. So we have Geetananda and Geeta Priti, who are your backups. Any problems or questions involving small groups need to be sent to Satyapriya at well, this is posted on your paper, so I'm not going to spell names out, but it's Mirians@hotmail.com. So that is specific to small groups. Okay, any questions? No hands. Okay. Other suggestions. Review the retreat schedule. Well, we said this already. Show up online at least 10 minutes early. Avoid distractions during the sit. Honor what you're trying to create for yourself during this retreat. Remain inwardly silent and outwardly quiet as possible during the retreat, except during small group meetings or Satri interactions, where part of the interaction will be you coming forward with questions. During this program, attend to what is going on inwardly in your system. This will empower you to recognize an inner process that may be arising. Conduct no other spiritual practices during the silent sittings, such as mantras or prayers, without Satri's approval. So Satri, what about those people who are doing their elemental techniques?
All right, so the reason we ask you not to do this is we're trying to access or make available to you a primal principle force that these mantras evoke a lesser vibration from. And although they can have a wonderful effect on your system and they be helpful, it's best not to have any of them so that this force can come in without any intermediary force in between. But the exceptions to that is those techniques you've learned relative to the elemental or chakra techniques. Those two groups, those of you who have learned them, they can assist you in the integration of the force in your system. So those would be fine. But otherwise, the recommendation is to avoid any intentional chanting or mantra other than the ones I mentioned.
Other than the elementals.
Elementals and the chakras.
And the chakras are still okay. That was the only answer I needed. Okay. Avoid alcohol or caffeinated drinks. No drugs except those prescribed. No fasting during the retreat. No sex or smoking. So let's talk about the silent sitting.
Yeah.
Yes.
You want me to talk about it?
Yes. I think that would be, you can talk about it and then I'll read the little bullet points.
Okay.
Or
So, as most of you know, the secret of our silent sitting is to do nothing. It's to just to stop and to be still, physically quiet, physically still. Because it's the universe can't find you if you keep moving around. You have to be in one place so it can find you. So sitting silent and still opens up a possibility that's inward to find that inward silence and stillness. Now, you could be outwardly sitting silent still, but you're feeling extremely uncomfortable and restless. That you want to be able to experience for as long as you can tolerate it before you make any movement or sound, if you're conscious. If you're not conscious, don't worry about it. The universe has already taken over one way or another. So the idea of silent sitting is to discover a place of poise, uh, a place that you can enter. It's either going to be in your heart, in your body, or in your awareness. Any of them can be access points to the principle we're bringing in this retreat.
Okay. So silent sitting. Do not leave the online retreat during the sitting. You may leave the broadcast after Shree has left. For the silent sitting, you can sit on the floor or in chairs. You can recline, but no lying down. Be comfortable, but not so comfortable that you fall asleep. Try not to fall asleep. It's not always possible, but it's best not to go to sleep. Silence and stillness are interrelated. It is best to move as little as possible, as it helps the silence to build. It also avoids disturbing others on the broadcast. No leaving to go to the bathroom. Please do so just before the sitting. No drinks except water. No reading or writing during the sits. And then you can notice your reactions, feelings, and thoughts throughout the 4-day. Record these along with any insights, revelations, or realizations.
Yes, but do that after your silent sit. So the idea here is that you don't want to be the recorder of what's happening to you until you're in a different consciousness than what's happening. So you want to stay in whatever is happening and let it take you where it's going to take you until after the retreat. And then you can use that as a time to record a note because it's useful. So much is going to happen over these next few days that you will not be remembering what happened in these early days when you get to the end, unless it were, of course, very dramatic. The second thing I want to say about sleeping, there is this boundary between samadhi and sleep. And therefore, I feel that sleep and samadhi have a relationship. The way to establish that in yourself so that you can know you're less sleep and more samadhi is your posture. So I encourage you to be relaxed. Clearly, in this sitting with our work, relaxation makes you more receptive to the transmission of the force that will be coming in, but not so relaxed that the old instinct and wiring says, time for a nap. So what that is for each of you will vary, but to be comfortable and relaxed is the first point. The secret to understand the right posture is not to be so reclined or so supported in pillows and blankets and the rest that the body is inclined to go unconscious. Rather, to be vertical enough that you will be less likely. So basically, I use a 45-degree angle. Not you're on 45 or up, you're going to be more alert than 45 or less. I just wanted to throw that in there. Okay.
Okay, so silent sitting exercises. The following are recommended exercises to practice during each sitting. Be aware of your breath. Be aware of the energy in your body. Be here now, the present moment. Notice what resists being present. Notice blocks, resistances, pressure, planes, etc. Identify where they are in your body. Put your attention on that location, feeling into the experience until it speaks to you or fades. Notice what is going on in your body. Try to identify its source. Hint, its origin is not outside of yourself. And you can go ahead and record your insights in a journal or however you like to do this. Okay, has Satyapriya been able to come on yet?
She's met with the groups,
Well,
leaders.
She's actually adding new people to groups.
Oh, I see.
We had a bunch of people. Okay, then I'm going to read the small group guidelines for her. The small group is a container to put into practice all the teachings that Shree offers in retreats. Such groups offer the opportunity for participants to experience more intimate contact with each other and to feel a sense of support as the Sat force works on you and issues begin to arise. It can be a time of great reflection, change, and responsibility.
Vulnerability.
Or vulnerability. Responsibility also.
Yes.
This process can totally alter your relationship with yourself and the way you connect with the divine. So all participants enrolled in the full retreat, that means you're in the talks and the meditations, will be assigned to a small group. If you are on talks only, you will not be assigned to a small group. You will receive an email from your small group facilitator on day 1 or day 2 of the retreat. If you don't receive the email, please contact Natalie at newdharma.office@gmail.com. Please check your spam or junk folder for the facilitator email as well, as often they go to that. So by day 2, if you've not heard, please let Natalie know. Refer to the retreat schedule for the day and time of the small group meeting according to your time zone. Please make sure you read the small group materials documents under your participant page, Materials, which is found on the website. This handout contains important logistics information you will need to know. Okay.
All right. Yeah, we've noticed that the small groups towards the end of the 4-day, it helps you integrate what has come and give you a perspective relative to what other people have also experienced. So it is a way of preparing you for bringing in what has come. Okay, so here we are. That's the framework. We ask that you honor these guidelines, that you make them important. You're the one who would get the value from making them important. And why do you do that? Because your ego is going to want to make them not important. It is just the nature of the resistance that inevitably comes up when you're venturing into territory unfamiliar. It can be fear, it can be anxiety, it could be any number of sensations. Some of you are experiencing it right now. What am I gotten myself into? There is an immediacy and a directness that comes when we commit. And the commitment is an expression of an organization of our intent, our purpose, the reason you're here, the reason I'm here, the reason you have been pulled to the journey, the reason Spirit has come and is inhabiting you to some extent. This program is an opportunity to align with the Dharma of this work, of this particular opportunity, and then thereby get the most value for yourself. You create this vessel along with each of us. We together create a synergy in making sacred the time we spend together. Now, this sacredness is not going to look like how your ego might imagine it looks like. It's going to look like whatever is in the way of that sacredness often. It will be an arising that will start showing what is between you and that which you're aligning with. So the attitudinal difference is very different than the ego. It's a place to stand that is essential, part of your essential nature. that can see the opportunity and feel the potentiality arise within you of aligning with something greater than what you've known before, truer than you've been able to know before, more profound and important than what you've been able to know before. This is the opportunity of this vessel. That's the intent. Just came in. Hear the silence? There is a power in alignment that we co-create. It's not just each of us, but each of us matter in aligning with this presence that's already seeking to come in. Learning to hear it, feel it, know it is part of what the opportunity is. And in the process, you'll discover what's in the way of that. It is not a discovery where you have something to do with it. Rather, it's for you to meet it, to experience it, to know its nature in any one moment, because the quality of what you're aligning with will take over undoing it, dissolving it, converting it into something that serves the purpose of your gathering here. There will be times and tests because you're doing this in your own home. You're going to be circumstances and situations will inevitably arise. The universe knows that something's happening, and it will become interested in you and will bring things forward that will interrupt and test and challenge your commitment. So be ready. Be ready to recognize these as opportunities, not as problems, but as showings, which your only job is to see it, to experience it, to recognize it. Your consciousness, the truth of what we're tapping into, will take care of the rest. This is not something your ego does. It's something that the divinity in you does. And we discover our ego in the process. So learning to align with this intent and keeping it present for you, then you use the guidelines, you use the part of you that is already aligned with your purpose in life, in existence, to know truth, to be conscious, to love, to know the fullness of the possibility of what you are, to manifest, to expand, to reveal the next step in the journey, in whatever form that may take. So I'm tapping into a principle that I discovered. I wasn't looking for it, but which was shown to me late in my spiritual journey, 7 years into the process. 6 years into the process, it began. And I began to be taken over, basically, as if I disappeared for time periods that left me showing up hours or days later as if no time had passed. And in those meetings, I didn't know what was happening when I would come back. There was such an abrupt difference between what I was meeting and what I was when I came back that I didn't know what it was. It's taken years and years and years to recognize that was the thing I eventually named Sat. That fundamental principle that exists prior to existence, which we are terrified of and yet long to disappear into. It is an essential paradox that lies within us, and it's right there at the boundary between our existence and non-existence. What we're talking about, what we're speaking of when we speak of Sat, is that which has no existence prior to existence. It's something completely beyond the range of human knowing or experiencing. We can only know it through the contrast. A light so fierce, so bright, so intense that we disappear and therefore can't know what it is that happened. So samadhi points to that condition where the organization of our individuality merges with that principle. That brings something into us. That opens a passage to a transformative force. That is what's needed in order to become a full expression of the highest possibilities that we can know and experience as human beings, and thereby become instruments and channels of that. So in the Bhagavad Gita, it only references it in stages. In the second chapter, it's the revelation of the soul as this internal principle that travels between lives. That this thing that does not die, that cannot be burnt, that is really the essential core principle of our I amness, of our very self-awareness, of our I know, I existness. The thing that can know there's a this, there's a you, and there's another, and there's a world. This very fundamental principle of the organization of the foundation of ourselves as consciousness, inhabited in matter. So in the revelations of this principle, we needed the entire Gita, at least till the 15th chapter, to give us enough of an orientation to take us outside of that quality of the soul that travels between lifetimes to that eventual quality of soul itself. So the first revelation, of course, is in the 8th chapter, where it speaks directly to this. All beings are born at the beginning of the day from the unmanifest and dissolve in the unmanifest at the approach of night. Arjuna, this multitude of beings comes again and again and is dissolved helplessly at the advent of night and rise again at the beginning of day. Beyond this unmanifest, there is another unmanifest. The existence of this quality of being that does not perish even when all other creatures perish. That unmanifest imperishable is the ultimate goal, and that is my supreme abode, from where there is no return. There is no return. It is pointing to the principle of becoming. It is pointing to a principle that is in the becoming. It is pointing to the essential quality of us that is both manifest as us as a being, manifests as us as consciousness, and manifests as something even more beyond those words. And then, of course, the next place where the full revelation, of course, it occurs in other verses in the Gita. We have Arjuna's meeting of that principle and Krishna in the 11th chapter, the Vishvarupa. But even that was the cosmic being. That was not the supreme being. It was all Arjuna could handle at that point. It's all he could see. It's all he could even be possible of holding or carrying or recognizing. But in the 15th chapter, it takes it to the next level. This eternal tree is said to be the imperishable, with its root is said to be imperishable, with roots above and branches below, whose leaves are the hymns of the Vedas. One who knows this tree is a true knower. Nurtured by the three gunas, the branches of this tree spread both below and above. Sense objects are its foliage. The roots, which also spread in both directions, bind the being with actions in this world of matter. There's no way you can see this, because no way you can know this unless you're already residing in the state of consciousness that comes out of that principle we call the Sat. We call that state of consciousness. It's a principle itself. It is not yet a form or a being. It's the beginning of a primal principle of being from which all beings arise. We call that the supreme being. We can know Krishna as one of the lesser expressions, one of the formed expressions of that principle, but this principle is actually within each of us. It's not outside of us. It is the essence of what we are. We've traveled into this territory without knowing it because we're not there. Our consciousness as individual beings is not organized. But in this verse, we tap into this. And when we tap into it, we can't know what we tapped into until we come out. But when we come out, then we see this imperishable tree. Then we see the ordering of it all. Then we become capable of knowing what is the opportunity of existence. We become the means by which that principle can be inhabited and become a person in the world. When we recognize this, when we can see it, we see all the darkness. But our consciousness is so light that the darkness is converted into its utility, into its purpose, into its recognized role in the unfolding of all of existence, the dark and the light, the existing and the non-existing. This imperishable tree we live in the midst of, and it's not something we need to worry about. We don't need as individuals to worry about it, but the quality of consciousness that this chapter is pointing to is what we're looking to tap into in this program, to access it. And you may not know you even accessed it, except when you do, you cannot recover. When you do, it keeps growing, with or without your consent. It keeps showing itself until it is that part of you that gives or withdraws the consent. It is not possible to know correctly the nature of this tree in this world, neither its beginning nor its end, nor also the secrets of its true existence. Therefore, one should cut this firmly rooted, ever-changing, imperishable tree with the axe of strong dispassion. Thereafter, the goal is to be sought, from where no one ever returns, taking shelter in that primal spirit from whom has come the flow of this creation. One should meditate on him alone. So all the other work we do is necessary and important and valuable and useful. But this is the source. This is the principle that when you can access it, all these other means are empowered to bring it into your life, to bring it into existence for yourself and for the others, for others. So what we're doing in this retreat is to find the thought. The thought is a principle both above and below. The thought above is the light. The thought below is the dark. Thought above is the source of all consciousness. The thought below is all consciousness lost in matter. They can be found in two movements, ascending and descending. If you find it only in one movement, ascending, then it's half. If you can find it in just the descending, you won't know what you found. You won't know what you discovered. But if you find it in both, the ascending and the descending, then it all opens up to you. The most important part for us as conscious beings is to find what is still unconscious, what's still hidden from us. It is through the dive deep into the truth of the embedded condition of consciousness that we continue to expand our ability to rise higher into the fullness of the possibility of the thought itself. So this program is a stepping out and expanding of our capacity to both ascend and thereby descend, thereby allowing more ascension, thereby allowing a greater descension, so that within us, these two principles can come together and merge. And they do that only in human bodies. It can only happen in our bodies. So in this process, all hell and all heavens are released. And therefore there is a training, the testing, the developing of your vessel to be the cauldron that can hold the quality of the consciousness that comes as we move towards this union of these two principles. I know right now scientists are trying to create fusion. And there's nothing in matter that can hold the event that occurs when actual fusion happens. It's only a magnetic field that can hold it. Huge expense is being made to hold the event. They've been able to hold it for fractions of a second. They've even been able to hold it for 10 seconds simultaneously. Well, in a one way, that's what we're doing here. We're training your vessel, your system, your personality, your body, your emotional nature, your vital nature, your mental nature, your psychic body, all parts of you to be the vessel in which the union of these two principles can occur. That's what I'm talking about. In case you thought it was something different, just so you know, we're talking about being willing to become the vessel for the union of these two fundamental expressions of spirit and matter, that which is beyond existence and existence itself. And in that union, the fullness of both become available to us. The true integration is proportional to our ability to hold the process of these coming together. So our guidelines are pretty necessary because you really have to use your conscious intelligence to collaborate with this. The best parts of you, the bigness of your heart, the groundness in your being, the clarity of your awareness, to be able to stay and recognize all the opportunities that'll be arising in the moments from this moment on, all the nows that'll be occurring over these 4 days, both within the material and the activity of the program itself and on your own. These are becoming aware of the now as if there is no past and as if there is no future. There is now, these next 4 days is training you to be in the immediacy, the timelessness of this, here, now, always, as if forever. Our ability to align with that possibility takes time. You're not going to do it by yourself. You're going to be able to do it when you open yourself up through your willingness, through your commitment to honor the structure. Because one of you who can hold this structure strengthens everyone else's ability to hold the structure. I will hold the structure. Others of you are capable of holding the structure, but it will be new every single time we meet, because that's the nature of now. It is endlessly new, endlessly revolutionary, endlessly an unfolding of what's possible, because it's in any one moment that this timeless event actually has already happened in us. We just haven't caught on. In the timeless, there is no past, there is no future. There is only the one vast now in which all past, present, and future arise. We are the principle that can hold that timelessness. So there is a skillfulness, there is a method, there is a means by which we can do this. So we're going to talk about the manual. So this is your guidebook. It's not complete. It's just pointing into the general picture of what it is that it's going to take for you to be able to convert this opportunity into a real possibility for you, to start actualizing it in your own knowing, in your own experience, in your own capacity to discover life newly. Now, many of you have been with me for years and you've been wondering what's going on. Well, this is what's going on. You're just becoming a better and better vessel for this possibility to manifest, because that's the end point. That's the completion. And having lived through the completion, I can tell you it's possible. I know that this is possible. And this is what I'm bringing into the world, because some of you and some of us in the world, by holding this possibility, will allow for a sustainable transition for mankind, humankind. All right, retreat manual.
Okay.
Begin.
This 4-day retreat is not only a retreat from the world of demand, distraction, and responsibilities, it is also a retreat from the habit of our egoic self in order to more firmly establish our divine nature. To create value for yourself, a silent retreat requires a commitment on your part to follow the structure and to surrender yourself to the program. It is an opportunity to go more deeply inward and to relinquish, to let go in ways you have not yet done. It is an opportunity to shed the habit of your ego and enter deeply into the field of being that lives you, your eternal self.
You are the eternal self. You already are the supreme being. It is just, it's already been done, in fact. But us humans are so slow that and because we hold information so poorly and we pass it on so without the essence being able to be preserved, that it gets lost. The true Dharma, the Satya Dharma, gets lost. So it has to always be regenerated. Like an airplane that flies from one country to another. In fact, it's always adjusting its course to end up on course. We have to always be adjusting and remembering and reminding and re-empowering our purpose in order to stay on course. That is the nature of it. What prevents that is a flaw of the instruments, right? If you have an airplane and the north arrow is 10 degrees off, you're going to land, thousands of miles from where you were supposed to. So it's the same thing. The flaw lies within the instrument that is going through the process. So we carry within us distorting forces, perspectives, points of view, ideas and beliefs, attitudes and orientations, things that we collected and picked up because our egos are nothing but assemblage of pieces, any of which may be on the driver's seat at any one point. So we're not consistent. We're not stable. We're not able to predict what we'll do tomorrow because it depends what we feel or what we think or how things show up or if it goes the way you want it or not. So these are flaws of the instrument relative to our ability to keep ourselves on track, because it always wants to go this way or that way or this way or that way. It's not our fault. This dimension is change, always change. Change is change, and change is existing, changing, because in fact it's always new. But it builds on the past. It builds on cumulative capacities so that eventually animals woke up and became human. And humans woke up and became spiritual beings. And spiritual beings woke up and became the supreme. There is this evolutionary process that happens for all of us. And we're all at different stages of our capacity as instruments. Some of us have skills in certain areas and others not. Some have good compasses, but we have difficulty in consistency. Some of us have a strong capacity to be consistent, but don't have the awareness or the compass that lets you know what's the right actions. We carry with us the error of all humanity, each of us carrying our own assemblages of those pieces. The opportunity is to begin to discover that which is true within that of our pieces. What is true in this assemblage of ourself? What is aligned? And, of course, and maybe more importantly, what is not? What is flawed? What is still vested? What is still clinging and attached? What still is misinterpreting the grace as a curse? What in us is got a paradigm of fear or diminishment or powerlessness that doesn't allow us to recognize that we actually have a say on how we move into relationship with the things that are arising both within us and without us. We need to discover the captain of our own ship. We need to find the part of ourselves that can walk or guide or swim or sail through these waters. So this is the process of discovering the flaw, not with the intent to fix it, because a fix is probably a modification of the flaw into some other flaw, but rather to recognize it, to see it play out, to watch its consequences, and to see the historical record of those actions of that flaw, so that you can begin to say, oh, now that didn't work. That separated me from the possibility of my life. This discovery, this unfolding, is this simultaneously the opportunity, but also what you allow yourself to let go of that which not yet know that opportunity. So whatever may arise during this process, this program, for you, or may come up in your outer circumstances or come up for you, is simply going to be an opportunity of moving through the waters for the purpose of this intent to manifest. It is not necessary to solve the problem or to feel remorse about it or to project onto why it happened or make a story about it. You're simply meant to be with it. And then that which can be with it takes over what needs to be done. So the evidence of this will be your life after this program. But maybe for some of you, some things will move within this program. This is grace. This is an intervention of the Supreme Force, stepping in and doing for us what we couldn't do ourselves. We just need to recognize, at least during these 4 days, how rare and precious you are, and how rare and precious is your life, and how rare and precious is this time to discover the fundamental design and principles of you, so that you can begin to become more capable, more true, more committed, more aligned, more real and immediate with what life actually wants to be for us. Okay? Go back from this.
We're back.
You're back.
Know the Sat. Silence and stillness are the qualities of the Sat and also the means to attaining it. The purpose of this retreat is to introduce you to the Sat by sitting in this silence and stillness. The Sat is the unchanging, eternal reality that is the source of all of us and of all existence. During this 4-day retreat, the Sat will become more and more present. A force will be released and felt, consciously or unconsciously. This force is called Satchitananda, truth, consciousness, and bliss. Let me keep reading.
Now let me speak. What is this Satchitananda? First, it's a tangible experience. Truth is that quality of consciousness when it wakes up. That quality of us when we become true. There is this thrilling coming into immediacy, this alive, here, now. Consciousness is to know what that is. Consciousness is a force of application, of converting that truth into an expression that comes into existence. And what does it do that for? To know existence, for Ananda, to embrace the existence, to move into relationship with all that it was not able to be in relationship with. It is a current of becoming. It was there at the very beginning of this big boom, bang that created these dimensions. It is there in you every morning when you wake up. It is there with you in every moment of every day. It's both coming into existence and coming out of existence simultaneously, in and out. The whole fabric of creation is on, off, everywhere. It's on, off, existence, non-existence, everywhere. And it's a fierce vibrational field in which we live within and have taken for granted because this is the ocean we swim in. We don't know it's there because we don't know we're in the ocean of this current that's living everything, including us. So beginning to tap into this principle of Satchitananda is very tangible. All Kundalini awakening, all awareness awakenings come out of this field and become more available to us. And they begin a process of taking the vessel of our body and transmuting it, taking every piece of it that is not capable of holding the fullness of that possibility and transforming it into something other than it was before, into something more capable, something made of consciousness, something made not just of matter, but of consciousness, such that matter itself becomes different. Transformation. So this is the force that comes out of the Sat. This is the principle that actually is living us right now, that allows you to feel the truth of these words, allows you to notice the experience you're having, that is having the experience of the experience you're having. Now, what happens when this force comes in more than you're used to? That's what we're going to talk about next. Are you able to come back?
I'm just waiting for you.
All right.
This force will put pressure on your system. This pressure may expand your awareness and cause spiritual experiences, or you may experience nothing. You may experience blocks, disturbing feelings, or thoughts, or not notice anything at all. This pressure is likely to push to the surface the obscurity, resistance, and barriers to the Sat and its force. These are like debris on the rising plume of an erupting volcano. If this happens, you will have to experience these experiences. Any or all of these can happen.
So this is a cacophony. It is a cacophony. When anything wakes up, the sleep state becomes disturbed, right? What is awaking? It only occurs in relationship to sleep. So what happens when you wake up? You become aware you were asleep. Duh, right? So this is what this does. This changes a very essential principle of you as consciousness in your awareness, in your own ability to experience. And then you become aware of what's been asleep. What that awareness may do is it may do any one of these things we're pointing to, but it will definitely be disturbing to the existing order. It'll be wonderfully disturbing or horribly disturbing. Well, maybe not as bad as horribly disturbing, because I'm holding the whole vessel and protecting each one of you from anything that would be too much. But whatever is happening for any of you, you want to be able to allow. You want to be able to meet it as best you can, in whatever way you can meet it, by simply experiencing it and going through it. It could be a darkness where you felt you've lost everything. It could be an utter dejection. It could be a collapse of everything you thought was worth living for. It could be any of these. All you need to do is ride the current, and it will do the work by your willingness to surrender to the process. Okay.
Meet the void. There is a shadow side of ourselves, the void. This is a dimension of our nature that is the storehouse of all our avoids, our avoided experiences. In this retreat, you may begin to experience these avoided experiences. This is necessary. These may appear as a familiar negative mood, a depression, or a compulsive pattern of thinking that seems to swallow you. You may feel fearful, anxious, or judgmental, or you may feel irritated or angry. But be alert. These are not ordinary experiences. They are due to the pressure of the Sat that is trying to manifest itself in you.
Okay. So just notice what's going on right now. What's going on right now? What are you noticing? What are you feeling? What's the energetics? Just, you don't have to think this. Just feel into it. Just recognize. Take a moment. Now consciously breathe. Know that in this very moment, you're having something of the experience. It's already started. For some of you, it started even before you came here. Some of you, it's not ended yet. It's been going on for years. So it's there. This is your doorway. With yourself here now, inside, connected to what is happening right now. So this is a summary of what we're going to be talking about, is this ability to direct our attention to this here now. That power, that's a power. There's a power that comes with self-awareness to direct our attention. When we begin to direct our attention to what we're experiencing in any one moment of now, we are actually empowering an unfolding of this current within us. We're giving our attention to what is already happening for us. Not in our awareness alone. Our awareness will have its own experience, not just in our heart, our diaphragm, our belly, our lower chakras, our body. In all of these is something is happening. It's been happening always. We are just now paying attention to it. This is one series of energetic expressions of the current. They're a bit more apparent because we've increased the background illumination of your consciousness. We've turned up the light of your being. It is now a little more capable in being able to choose this now and be here now within yourself, beyond the limits of our habit of our mind, habit of our reactions, our preferences, habits of our personality structures, our fears, our anxieties, our resistances, our adaptions, our compromises. We have a power inherent to choose to align with this unfolding. So here are the instructions for that part of you. Okay.
Be present. Being here now, in the present moment, has the power to shift our relationship with existence. It is a power that arises when we drop our habitual patterns of thinking and reacting and move into an immediate and direct relationship with what is arising without a story, judgment, or belief. Being present is how we develop presence. This quality is essential for penetrating into the remaining hidden structures and unexperienced experiences that make up the inner void we have spent our life avoiding.
So this whole notion of avoiding is ego. The only thing that would avoid is ego. It would be the only thing that would know to avoid. Everything else would just be overtaken by whatever is happening. So avoiding, the structure of avoiding has its characteristics like denial or resistance or rebellion or repulsion. It has these many forms of no, which is an opposite of true knowing. It's not the no to know, it's the no to not know. Finding the no, you will be the doorway to your avoided domains. They'll exist in your mental domains, they'll exist in your emotional domains, they'll exist in your physical domains. They are whole areas that you have avoided, didn't know you were avoiding, didn't know they were there to be with. The nature of the void is usually the ego has no clue, and that's why it's the void, and that's why we're afraid of it. So the principle of being able to move into relationship with this avoided parts isn't just like a strategy of the intellect. This is actually a willingness to be in the present moment with what is actually happening, without a story, without an emotional pattern, without the need to implement it in some way, speak it, act it out, but to be with it, with the energies that are there. And often these avoided experiences release tremendous amounts of energy, and that frightens. Fear, anxiety, disruption are the signs of an awakening, that the body is moving into a new relationship with existence, but our habit of self is converting it into something we don't want to experience because we don't know the secrets that lie within those unwilling parts of us. the energies that are locked up into it, the chunks of the powers of the truth of our presence lost up into these influences that have prevented us in our life from being fully in life. There is ultimately no void. There is only you. There is nothing else but you. There has never been anything else but that quality of you-ness, of me-ness. It is only that can traverse this territory. And no, it will not die. It will not be destroyed. It will not lose. It will gain to the losing, the apparent losing. Okay.
Be the cause. While in this retreat, try not to assign the cause of any unwanted or negative thoughts, experiences, or sensations that may arise to something outside yourself. Instead, look inward and seek to find the source of what is arising. Enter into whatever you are experiencing by being present with it in the state of presence. Being present is the same as being in a state of presence. Though now is a timeless moment and carries inherent within it the Sat itself. Each time you come to cause, the Sat within you is revealed.
I invite you to be aware of your presence right now. Just be present and notice your presence. When we speak of what the path to know the Sat, it is only knowable through that quality of your presence. No story, no future, no path, just this. This now, as it is. That's what we're going to nurture. That's what we're here to empower. That is what this principle, the Sat force, can empower. That quality of presence in you that is steady, unchanging, complete, fulfilled, no need of a future, no fear of a future, no hanging to a past, no longing for a past or grieving a past, only whatever is experientially happening in the body now, in the breath, in the presence, in the awareness that holds all these. Okay, and now this next one is the key. This is the secret of all secrets.
Listen to the body. It can help to put your attention on the part of your body that is being impacted by these experiences. Notice where the discomfort is felt in your body. It may be a sensation, pressure, discomfort, pain, or numbness. Whatever comes up, try not to judge it or push it away. Just be present with it without moving or making noise for as long as possible.
Now, listening to the body is not something we humans usually know how to do unless it has something to do with what we want or what we don't want. What we want to do in listening to the body is listen to the body in presence, in thisness, in silence and stillness. This is attending to a place that by attending to it, we dissolve the structures of resistance. We dissolve the inhabited error of our instrument. We begin a curative process by which we transmute that which before was a problem into something that is a resource, an asset. It is a transmuting of what we thought was the most worst thing into possibly one of the most wonderful things. It's all a change of perspective. It's all a shift of the presence from one veil to no veil or less veil. to be able to see with new eyes, to hear with new ears, to know in new ways, to feel in new ways, by bringing the body in with your presence as a means of knowing and experiencing the immediacy of what you are in existence. Okay. Whoop, lost her.
No.
Oh, all right. You do have to be in a body to be here, by the way.
All right, pay attention. What sensations, thoughts, or feelings are you experiencing? Pay attention to them. Expand them. Let them fill your attention and be with them, experiencing yourself as the cause and not attributing your experience to something outside of yourself, either from the past, the future, or now in the present situation. Do this without taking any action.
Okay, continue.
The experience will begin to speak to you. It will tell you about itself. Keep listening until the sensations, experiences, or thoughts fade, disappear, or break. This
Breakthrough.
is the process of transformation. At first, this may be difficult, but as you succeed in integrating the force of the thought, it will become easier and easier. You want to do the last piece?
Yeah. So we do the same thing each time we do a silent program, but it's always new.
Yeah.
Because what we're bringing in is the newness. The structure is simply a way to organize our consciousness together, to language and have an attitude from the best parts of us, our heart, our awareness, our intelligence, to have right information. Because what we're speaking of is something that's in every single moment of every single day that you've lived or that you have yet to live. It's always this here right now. It's the doorway to the absolute truth that is always here, that you always are. So when we develop on the spiritual path, it is a process of using the best parts of us, the part of us that's most awakened and most aligned and most effective, to be the means by which we expand that into the other parts of ourselves. So we do this, and each time we have these 2-hour sittings that were coming up. These 2-hour sittings will be anything from grueling and horrific to just wonderful and thrilling and hoping they never end. The whole dial, 360-degree dial, is possible within this silent sitting, but that's where this work happens. Because even if you want to be someplace else, you use these 2-hour sits to be where you are. And then when you come out and you do the things that are there in your life to do, you have access to a different quality of being when you come out. And that what you feel afterwards is simply more of the same, showing, unfolding transmutation. You're not going to understand always, or even often, what's happening to you. You're simply going to have to show up in your life where everybody else thinks you're going to be the same, but you're not the same. Even you expect to be the same, and you're not the same. Like Satsangs, she's reading. She doesn't know if she's missing words or not. She's just doesn't know. She's not the same. So inhabiting this, bringing this into your home, is one of the great things about these virtual programs, because it's the field where you live. And what you're bringing into that field is this principle of the Sat force in you. You become the agent of creating a vessel for you that will last beyond this program. You use your couch, you use your TV, you use your silverware, you use the food in the refrigerator, you use the floor and the toilet and the sink and the kitchen and the walls and the phone and all your devices as a means of discovering this new consciousness. Not just getting what your ego wants or doing what your ego thinks it needs to do. Discovering a whole new paradigm for being. So there's some suggestions while we sit in the silent sessions, because that's where the greatest intensity is going to happen. The The first is consciously withdraw your attention from outer circumstances. You can do this by closing your eyes or leaving them open, but not focusing on anything. 2, become aware of your body. What I mean here is not outwardly. I want you to be inside your body. Enter into your body. Be inward, like you put yourself in the body. Become aware of your breathing. This breathing consciously. First, noticing your breath, noticing the breathing that's happening without your attention. And then put your attention to the breathing and change the breathing and notice the difference. And then don't change your breathing, let it breathe naturally. Pay attention to what's already here happening in your body. Notice what you ate previously. Notice if any other biological functions are there arising. Just attend to them, but hold them not like wrong or right or good or bad or evidence or not evidence, but as just what's arising, including sitting there and nothing's happening. I'm wasting my time. There's so many other things that I could be doing. I want to be any place else but here, or feel the resistance that's going on, the discomfort, or notice how unconscious you become because you just don't know yet how to be in the fullness of your integration of your Sat with your Asat. This is all good. It all serves within this context. There is not a right or a wrong. There is simply an intent for grace, an intent to discover principles and forces beyond yourself that wants nothing else but for you to know this. To know that behind all this, you're being held in a sphere of unconditional love and safety and okayness, where whatever is arising is only an apparency in the truth of what you are. Become aware of the energy in your body. Feel the current. See if you can notice there's a place or a movement of energy in your body. It could be in your fingertips. It could be in your legs. It could be in your hands. It could be in the back of your neck. It could be anywhere. Just attend to it. Don't try to control it now. Just notice it initially. Let yourself get familiar with it. Notice if there's a reaction to that. If there's a worrying about it, or if there's a looking for it. Notice whatever is arising, and in that presence, whatever needs to be done, the grace will be doing it, including nothing being done, not apparent to you. That may happen. And you're aware and nothing's happening. I assure you, the nothing is a veil. It's a habit of mind. It's a habit of rajas. It's a habit of tamas. It's the habit of ego that's keeping you veiled from entering into the fullness of the instrument that your body is. So be with the nothing. Nothing happening. And then watch what happens when you actually choose to be with nothing happening. It's a rich doorway. Become aware of any pressure, pain, or other sensation. Focus your attention on that. Listen to what it's saying. You know, they talk about horse whispers. You know, you listen with new ears, see with new eyes. You listen to your body. Develop a listening to what it's trying to say. Oh, this hurts. Oh, this feels good. Oh, this is uncomfortable. I just want to make a noise. It could be primitive, childlike. It could be anything from articulate to inarticulate. It doesn't need to be known fully. It just needs to be felt and included. So we're going to go right to work. We don't have a lot of time, 45 minutes, but that'll be a chance for you to put your toes into these waters if you're not already drowning. Depends how far off from shore you've already traveled. So we're going to sit for, let me confirm this time. Yeah, 45 minutes.
Well, probably about 40.
All right, do 40.
And then we can close.
And then just check the schedule, show up for our next session, which will be another silent sitting. You will have other sittings with other people. It won't make any difference. I'll be there even if physically I'm not the person on the screen at any one time. Because you're there. I'll be there. Let us begin.